सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So we were studying about how our desires wreak havoc with our relationships. Now the problem with this is that when discrimination doesn't function, we go to one side or we go to the other side. Like Othello, he mistakenly believed that his wife was not loyal to him. Okay, that she was having an association with someone else, and for that killed her. On the other hand, Andrea del Sarto was a great painter. He was supposedly better than Michelangelo and Raphael, at least as far as the poem that Browning has written tells us. And he put up with every dalliance of his wife, put up with everything. She didn't want to be in the court. He ran away from the court. She wanted to be with somebody else. He was okay with it. Okay with me. He put up with it. Now, from one extreme to the other extreme, this is what is so difficult to understand about attachment. That when we think of attachment, most of us, we think of a particular act, or we think of detachment, we think of a particular act. But the act means nothing. Under the influence of attachment, you can forgive or you can take revenge. They're both attachment after all. And being detached, again, you may forgive or you may take extremely strict action. Who is to tell? How is anyone to know? And therein lies the difficulty of teaching Vedanta or understanding it or comprehending it or anything. That's why it's so tough. So each one of us must attempt to think this thing through so that we get the real gist of it and not like oh, this is attachment. This is not attachment. Don't do all this stuff. Get the gist of it. Get that perception. And let that perception become finer and finer. Because at one stage it is black and white. You go to either white or you go to black. As sattva develops, it comes in the center, it comes in the center, it comes in the center until it becomes a very straight, thin line. Until that point, our mind is going all over the place. So how do you even express all? So two types of people, depending on their nature, their attachment will express itself. If they are, sort of A-type personalities, then it will express as dominance and control and all this sort of thing. If they are B-type personalities, it'll be passivity, victimization, all that. So what do you say? Now, all this that we are doing in this chapter here, in the second book, there's a whole chapter on it. So if we ever get there, we will do that in greater detail then, right? So who will read any questions up to this part, or shall we proceed? All good? Okay, let's proceed then. Desires strain morality and ethics. When the desire is strong, the ties of morality are strained. Morality or ethics is nothing but the capacity to do the right thing regardless of how it affects oneself. The capacity to do the right action regardless of its effect on yourself. But helplessly, people commit acts which they know are wrong. You know, in Sanskrit, you're all familiar, I think all Indian languages have this word niti. You're all familiar with this word? Hindi has it, and I think most other languages have it. So, Deepraj, Bengali has the word niti? Yes. So, Vidushi, in Karnataka word niti? I think everybody, the whole country understands this word niti. And niti means to us the policy, or something like that, good policy and things like that. The Sanskrit word niti is kind of interesting because niti actually means action, right action. It's a very interesting usage of this term, because obviously your policy is no good until you actually implement it, right? So what is niti is the right way to behave. It's referring to the action involved. And yet that action has no meaning until you know the intention. This is that seesaw of this whole thing. On one hand, what you did is very important. And on the other hand, why you did it is very important. And this seems like a seesaw that we are literally playing over here. You have the best of intentions, but your action was incorrect. It doesn't fall under niti. And if you did the best possible action, but your intention was incorrect, again, it doesn't fall under niti. So this is the sort of, in every aspect, you will see that what you are doing in Vedanta is making that discrimination finer and finer, subtler and subtler, until you are able to see more for yourself. The consequence of this behavior, the consequence of the development of the intellect is nobody can predict. People ask me, after people do the course at Vedanta University, what will they do? If I could predict what they could do, I think it would be a failure of the university. Because if a person has developed an intellect, what that person will do, nobody can predict, because he is creative, he's innovative, he's able to see something far beyond everybody else. You can't predict what this person will do. You can predict that, okay, if you go to IIT or IIM, this is what this person will do. But you cannot really predict what a person will do after they study Vedanta. And that, at least to my mind, is its USP. To most people, that sounds like, oh, that's a bad thing. No, it's a very good thing. So when we start developing intellect, what anyone today in class may do, how they do it, where they do it, we may never know. In fact, very rarely I find out how people have dealt with something or done something. And, it's always a pleasure to know sometimes people do come back and tell us that, okay, so this happened, that happened. It's a pleasure to hear that something that they got. And in that area, at least their intellect developed. And what have they achieved? I've often shared with you what all people have done and how much they have benefited either themselves or other people, or saved themselves some terrible trouble, or just because their intellect worked at that point. So when you are trying to develop this idea of ethics, it is a it's very highly dependent on the, what should I say, on the brightness of your intellect. A person with a dull intellect cannot be ethical. And what dullens the intellect, even further than its whatever dullness it already has, is the impact of
Desires.
desires. Now, whatever intellect we have, we have. But when that desire catches us, so hey Bhagwan, and that desire works, okay, very, very strangely. It could be in even not being willing to stay long enough with a problem. I want a decision. I want a decision. Desire is playing. I want my cake and I want to eat it too. Desire is playing. So, what makes this? Firstly, discrimination is difficult. That is what is a step one to understand. Even for us to understand what this topic is about is tough. So, discrimination itself is difficult. Use of intellect is itself difficult. Now you allow your mind to take off. तो फिर भुगत लो, क्या करूं? If any decision has to be taken, your mind has to be crystal clear, totally calm. While it is clamoring for something, your intellect must be able to, sometimes the dogs get a little over enthusiastic, and how their masters are able to keep them down like that, keep it down. This is a great thing if anyone learns to do it. It's a great, great thing indeed. So, desire strain morality and ethics. When the desire is strong, the ties of morality are strained. If morality binds us correctly, you know how a child has to be bound by those, what are they called? Straddling cloths. What are they called? When the child is born, you tie it in the cloth so that it's straight, and it's come out like that from the womb. So then you tie it and sort of tightly bind it up. So those are the morality strains on us to keep us straight in life. Morality or ethics is nothing but the capacity to do the right thing regardless of how it affects oneself. But helplessly, people commit acts which they know are wrong. Arjuna asked Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, what impels a person to do an action that he knows is wrong? And Krishna answers, it is desire, it is anger. Kama esha, krodha esha, rajoguna samudbhavaha. From rajogun samudbhavaha, udbhava, it rises out of that passion within us. When the desire is stronger than discrimination, morality is the lamb that's slaughtered. Whenever your desire goes over your intellect, it's morality that is going to be slaughtered. Morality is the identification with higher values of life. When desire reigns strong, morality is too easily sacrificed. Think of business persons giving up all ethics to make exorbitant profits. Have you seen that? There could be child labor. There could be, what should I say? There could be the ill effects on the environment. There could be a stress and strain amongst their labor force. Everything is discounted because you can only see one thing, the bottom line. That's all you can see. And so every other factor will be discounted. King Richard III, murdering all in the line to his throne. He killed his brother, he killed his nephews, he killed his nieces. Anybody in line to the throne, he killed. Or ourselves when we want something and only ethics stands in the way. Not just all these people there and all those people there, but we do this each time. Especially when we know we will not be outed. How will you behave if you know that nobody's going to find out about this? Sometimes, the desire for reputation keeps us moral. But suppose you know that nobody's going to find out. What will you do? Just as drug addicts can go to any extent to fulfill their cravings, so can we when obsessed with desires. It consumes our being and subsumes everything in a tumultuous descent. Everything can get wiped out before you know what happened. And this is not theory. I mean, open the newspaper any day, you will see this. What all people are doing and behaving, and like, it's all Ram Bharose nowadays. What makes a person a criminal? The pressure of ungoverned desires. They force him into acts that he himself would call immoral or criminal. When this pressure is so much that most humans won't be able to withstand it, even the court acquits the defendant. Even our law is charitable because they know that once your desire has gone to that level, you're no longer human. So how can we even punish you? Such as a plea for temporary insanity. Sometimes there are mitigating circumstances, like when the situation is beyond what the average person can bear. And so society and the judicial system are sympathetic to it. If a person sees his wife or child in danger, he may go mad with anger and even kill the assailant. He may be acquitted if it is not premeditated, meaning it was at the spur of the moment. But if he consciously and deliberately planned it, he would, of course, get the full force of the law. So, even our law appreciates that this can happen. Our legal system appreciates the possibility of this. The less the desires, the more moral or ethical the person. When the desires range high, a person will not be capable of ethics. Thus, spiritual people are deemed to be more moral or pure. This is what people say, that a spiritual person is more moral or pure. So why is a spiritual person more moral? Because his desires are fewer. It's easier for him to be more moral. As the pressure of desires gradually falls, we begin to perceive it. The sun starts peeping out of the clouds. See, when the desire is too strong in a person, does he even think of ethics? Does that question occur to him that is this ethical? It doesn't even occur to him. The sun starts peeping out of the clouds. The conscience speaks louder, as it were. What seemed perfectly acceptable earlier will now seem doubtful. Beating others may seem acceptable to a person, but he may draw the line at killing them. As he develops, he will find that even hitting people is unacceptable. As he evolves further, he may consider speaking rudely as not acceptable. If he continues to grow, he may consider hateful thoughts unacceptable. Thus, as we climb the ladder, our concept of what is ethical changes. So, the consequence of this is Do you realize the consequence of this? What is ethical or not becomes more and more clear to you as you grow. So, therefore, as you grow, the person himself or herself starts thinking that they're not so good. It's a very interesting phenomenon because they think that, oh my God, look at all these wrong things I'm doing. But when the person is very gross, they think they're very good because the question of ethics never occurred to them. Oh, I'm a very good person. It's a very interesting phenomenon. Almost anybody in this class would consider themselves, I'm not doing so good. But if you went to criminal gang or something, they will all think they're doing very well in life. It's an interesting phenomenon. So suppose you reach the level of Christ. What does he think is wrong? He will say, no, oh my God, I've sinned. Why did he sin? He'll say, I sinned. What sin did you do? For a second in my heart, I questioned the Lord. 1 second, I questioned the Lord. I sinned. This is how he looks at it. So there's a world of difference between how ethical you think you are and how ethical you really are. It's very difficult to tell. Those who find themselves unethical are usually more ethical. Strange phenomenon. Yes, Bharat?
So an unselfish person getting carried away with a good desire would still fall in this pitfall.
Yes, sometimes you may. A common example is, let us say there's an unselfish person and they really want to help people. So what they do, so let's say the unselfish person sees a caterpillar. And then the caterpillar makes a cocoon and goes into that cocoon. And he's waiting for it to come out as a butterfly, and then you find that it's struggling. Right? So then the unselfish person tries to break the cocoon because that butterfly is struggling to come out and is not able to. So you break the cocoon for it. Then what will happen to that butterfly? It will never be able to fly again because that is what that butterfly had to do for itself. But you interfered unnecessarily because you couldn't see something, because you couldn't handle. So that's what a mother can do, right? Child is suffering because the child did something wrong, but the child is suffering. Mother can't stand it. So the mother goes and does something to reduce the child's suffering. The teacher has punished the child, and then the mother says, okay, I'll do something. So you're damaging. So out of good desires, you can damage people. So these are examples of when unselfish desires can harm people. Another way of looking at the same thing is that you put up some very high levels of discipline for people, and they are not able to. To me, in my mind, I'm sure you people have your own examples, but in my mind, remember this young girl. She and one of the students from the class, very closely associated with us many years ago. Of course, it was 25 years ago. Very closely associated with us. Suddenly, he was not there so much. So I'm like, what happened? Where are you disappearing now? Of course, he attended class, but he used to be around a lot more also. What happened? So this chap had fallen in love with some girl. And then eventually one day he said, if you don't mind, I want you to meet somebody. Okay, Baba, show who now. I'm also very excited to know who you have gone and got hold of. So he brought a girl. And then that girl was very sweet and very loving and affectionate and full of cheer and enthusiasm and totally spoiled. Totally spoiled means she was like a young girl. I mean, I don't think even bothered to finish her graduation or anything. Very pretty, very full of life, and very, very sweet. But from a background of like totally indisciplined, like she's like she's very, very sweet. I mean, really a very nice person, but no concept in their whole household of discipline. So she would say that, oh, so what we used to do is we used to watch like maybe 3 or 4 movies a day. A day. Like they get up in the morning, they start watching movies. Whole day goes like this. Oh, I see. Then what happens? Then if you get bored with that, then sometimes you go to the theater also and watch. Okay. So an entirely indulgent lifestyle that they had. Nothing wrong, or I mean, she wasn't smoking or drugging or anything, but just like, full of maja, no sense of I have to do anything. A pure enjoyment. Her whole life was pure enjoyment. So this boy was young, handsome. She was young, pretty. So these two fell in love with each other. He was much older than her. So, and then fell in love, and then they eventually got married. And now this boy comes from a very disciplined family. His father is a mathematician. So you can see this whole turn. That's math. The sister, he had lost his mother, so the sister used to run the house. That sister was working, she was looking after her father, the brother. She had her life packed down. At this time she did this, at this time she did this, at this time this is how the household ran, and she needed it like that because she had to go to work as well. Extremely disciplined. Now enter our young pretty girl into this household, which is working on railway tracks. The girl couldn't handle it. Just couldn't handle it. It's too much. I mean, you can't help feeling sorry for her because this was not her life. She like went from black to white for her. And she would come and she would cry and say, oh, I'm so bad. I know that she is the sister-in-law. And the sister-in-law she was the one bad, but she couldn't understand. According to her, this is a mad girl. Who was my brother brought? She doesn't know cooking. She doesn't know how to handle the staff. She doesn't know anything. But in her house, somebody else was handling all this. She didn't care. But how that girl used to cry because she met somebody so extremely disciplined who gave no leeway to her background. In my eyes, I don't know, rightly or wrongly, it amounted to cruelty. You can't pluck up a person like that and put them into some horribly rigorous discipline. So though that lady was, you people remember where we were, right? Anyone remembers? Where were we?
Good desires taking people astray.
So see this girl, she was taking care of, she was financially taking care of the family, not emotionally, I don't know. But anyway, the food and everything, she was handling everything for the family. In her eyes, she was doing all the right things. And anyone from outside would also say. But it just seemed like cruelty. Cruelty to this young child, hardly, not even finished college, this poor kid. And this sister-in-law has already molded herself into an extremely strict this thing. So good desire, she wanted to take care of the family, she wanted to do everything, amounts to cruelty.
So it seems like higher knowledge would make one moral or ethical, not just having fewer desires.
No, when you have fewer desires, you begin to see the truth. You're not seeing that you are creating so much turbulence to a young child. Just because you are disciplined, you can't expect the whole world to be disciplined. Just because you have some standard, you can't expect other people to live up to it. You live up to your standards. So it is that your desires are so rigid. That is why you're not able to see it. You think you're being good, but actually you're being cruel. So it is not having fewer desires and having knowledge of the higher is the same thing.
It's
Different
not the same thing, right?
is the same thing.
No, in fact, I would feel I may have the knowledge of the higher, but if I have not become it, you could either say that I don't have the knowledge. But yeah, that distinction is very important because I can repeat it, I can mouth it, but if I haven't become that, then there is no gain. If I have become that, then my desires have come down, and if they have come down, then I will definitely, all this that we are saying will apply to me.
Yes.
And I think in that sense, what Bharat said was, if he meant that I have the theoretical knowledge, that would not be valid. But if he actually, I was at the higher level, the person, then that person would be tending to be more moral and ethical.
Yes. I mean, I think everybody in the class understands here that knowledge is not information. I'm going on that assumption. But I'm happy to see your voice is bright and clear and forceful as before.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Janki.
Yes, Aditi?
Hariom Shanti. In both the examples which you gave of noble thoughts, are they exactly noble thoughts or they're more like selfish thoughts?
No, you are saying it from an outside perspective. What is that person thinking?
Yeah, okay.
They are doing what according to them is right. They're not recognizing that desire is taken.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Jayashree. Also, the gentleman in the plane who wanted to help co-passenger by picking the drop phone at the time of takeoff during Mumbai to Delhi flight. I'm not aware of this, Jayashree. What is this? I can't hear you.
We were in the same plane. We were sitting next to each other. Remember the gentleman who wanted to help his front passenger?
Oh,
I remember that example. Yes. So yeah.
yes, yes. Okay, yes. So we were taking a flight and the flight is taking off. And this chap got up to her to pick up somebody else's phone. And the crew went almost berserk. What are you doing? You can't get up in the middle of that. So yes, correct. You can, with all your whatever you think I want to be helpful, you're really you're worsening the situation basically. Okay, Bharat?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Come on. So as we climb the ladder, our concept of what is ethical changes. What should we or should we not do? Like this man in the plane that Jayashree has reminded me of. In his mind, he is being very nice to his co-passenger, picking up his phone for him. But you're not allowed to unbend yourself and start walking, getting up from your seat and do that. You don't know what further problems you will create. So as you climb the ladder, your discrimination, your understanding of what is ethical changes. Another part of this ethics, which luckily we have already spoken of, is this cruelty element when we expect other people to live up to our level of discipline. Or sometimes the cruelty element when you expect your own body, mind, intellect to suddenly have a discipline that it never had before. You're being cruel. to yourself. And if you remember in the Bhagavad Gita, it talks about that. It says, torturing all the elements of the body, including me. It's a very interesting usage. In today's language, it's called authenticity. Are you taking your mind with you, or are you doing some kind of, ghor tapas? One important part of ethics is authenticity to self. We cannot be what we are not. Even in trying to be good or ethical, we cannot jump the gun. When we attempt to, we get frustrated, thereby causing the horrendous acts of some religious people. Have you ever noticed this? Religious people, at least as reported in the newspapers, seem to be behaving in a way worse than us. A young boy wishing to serve the Lord enters the church. He becomes a priest. Then what goes so horribly wrong? The pressure of desires was too strong. There was nothing to tell him that even with the best of intentions, this form of service is not for him. Desires make us inauthentic to self. I'm sure you'll all know about these reported instances about the church. Desires make us inauthentic to self. We seek the good opinion of others. We are afraid that our companions would decry us. So we do convoluted things. Always be very clear that you are doing what you think is right. You're not doing what other people think is right. Especially as you come into the spiritual field, you have to be very, very careful about this. Because people have their concepts of what a spiritual person does or doesn't do. And they try to superimpose that concept on a genuinely spiritual person. If you fall into that trap, then this is what happens. We do convoluted things. We wreck our personality, that beautiful gift. Personality is a gift to us. Why are you wrecking it by doing convoluted things? We may hide our deepest wishes from ourselves, fearing the loss of reputation or monetary benefit. So you'll all lose money, you lose reputation, so you say, forget it, I will just suppress my own desires. It doesn't work. Desires then get all mixed up and complicated, and we no longer know what we want or a sensible way of getting it. That doesn't mean you have to go all out. Nobody's saying you have to go all out, but you have to do it sensibly. Whatever your desires are, they have to be executed sensibly, not foolishly. Do some convoluted things. This kind of suppression never works. We call it loss of innocence. We can't be what Shakespeare calls a plain, blunt man. The Gita refers to this quality of a jnani, a wise person, as arjavam, uprightness. You're able to live your life, your way, by your standards. That song, very nice. I did it my way. Do you know that song? I did it my way. Aditi, you know that song? You can sing? I don't have your capacity, so I can't sing. Well,
Yeah, I only remember that one tune of that, and I did it my way. So I don't know the tune of the entire song. Maybe next time.
another time. Anyway, you all can all go and listen to it. Chris, I did it my way. Wouldn't you like to know that about yourself when you are about to die? Would you live your life in somebody else's way? I did it my way. Develop your intellect, trust yourself, and do it your way. You don't have to conform to anyone. You don't have to be like anyone. Be yourself. Make yourself the person that you are proud to be. Not proud as in proud, but You know, many people think I have to find myself. They take this concept of Vedanta that you have to locate yourself and they convert it to I have to find myself. You don't have to find yourself, you have to create yourself. You will make out of yourself whatever you choose to. I find myself. The kids go on, I have to find myself. What are you finding? There is nothing there. First, you put something there, then you find it. Some flimsy thoughts floating around, I'm finding. What are you finding? Design your life, design yourself. You are your greatest work of art. And that art is art because the ethics in it are so good. That is what, Shakespeare refers to, that all of nature might stand up and say, here is a man. This is somebody worthy of being called a human. Am I worthy of being called a human? How do I make myself worthy of being called a human? What is the difference between a chimpanzee and me? Is there a difference between a chimpanzee and me? This is for me to decide. No, it's my life. Let the intellect grow and let my life unfold with the vision that I'm able to see. Instead of just suppressing myself foolishly. My gift to this world is the person I am. And if everyone is like that, can you imagine a big garden of flowers? Each one living up to their potential, their abilities, and heaven on earth. Mahesh, design yourself in line with dharma. Is that correct? Yes, according to what you believe, right? What is the design you want to make for your own life? What do you think is the purpose of your existence? What are you here trying to do? You have to answer those questions. Nobody can answer those questions for you. So just saying in line with dharma is not enough. You have to have something in your mind and be able to make the sacrifices required to reach that point. It doesn't matter what it is. Your character is built because you were willing to sacrifice your likes and dislikes for it.
Yeah, that's what I meant. The sacrifice of likes and dislikes is something that would be in line with dharma. That was what I meant, actually.
Yeah, but just sacrificing likes and dislikes is not enough. You have to have a noble goal. Otherwise, it'll amount to cruelty, right? I want to do something, I simply don't let myself do it. So then you go into ghor tapas. You remember, right? In the Gita, we studied that. We said about how you torture, do ghor tapas. You torture every element of the body, including me. Including me is how can you torture the self? Torture the self means you're not doing yourself a favor spiritually also. You're going to go away from the self. You're not going to go towards the self. You're not going to know yourself. You're not going to be yourself. In that sense, you torture the self. Deepraj, you had a question?
Yeah, it was answered.
Right. So, when we go to the Happiness Guarantee Volume 2, there's a whole chapter on ethics. So we will study it in greater detail when we do it then. But for now, is it clear that morality is completely destroyed because of desires? Morality does not mean that you suppress your desires. Morality is about taking the various aspects, using your intellect, and determining what is the right thing for you to do in that circumstance. So you have the laws of life, you have an external circumstance, you have an internal circumstance. You put all of this together, apply your head to it, and what you then decide to do and execute becomes ethics or niti. Niti is the word. But if you allow yourself to get carried away by desires, okay, what can anyone do? Can anyone do anything? This is the difficulty of knowledge is you will watch people ruining themselves and there is nothing you can do about it. You will have to gulp and swallow it, because until that person is ready to do what needs to be done, no one can. Okay, let's proceed. Desires hinder spirituality. Spirituality is the pursuit of the transcendental reality known as God. What separates us from God is desire. Systematic reduction of desires is the path to Godhood. Which is the most important word in this sentence?
Systematic.
Systematic.
Systematic. Please remember that reduction of desires is done by every, fill in the blanks. This reduction of desires is done by every
Being.
animal. You can't say being because then that would include humans. So every animal, every plant, every part of nature. You can say every being other than humans. Please understand, this is happening to everybody at all times. What differentiates the human being from the animal is that the human being can increase and decrease. The animal and vegetable kingdom, every other creature, every other being can only decrease desire. A human being can increase it or decrease it because he has a choice of action. He can do whatever he wants. So what is religion? It is a systematic attempt to reduce it. That means that is your goal. You have a plan and program to achieve this, and you're going in that direction. You can't say, oh, I'm very spiritual. I listen to bhajans every day. You're not spiritual. You're a lover of bhajans. Somebody else is a lover of rummy. What of it? Everybody is a lover of something or the other. Oh, I'm very spiritual. I go to Vedanta classes. So what? Somebody is going to English classes. Somebody is going to, I don't know, AI classes. You're going to Vedanta class. How does that make you spiritual? No, I'm very spiritual because every Sunday I go and I do volunteer work. How does that make you spiritual? Spirituality means that I am systematically working towards a spiritual goal. Otherwise, I'm not doing this. Whatever I'm doing. If Deep Raj is doing his PhD, and I ask him, why are you doing a PhD? And If he is a spiritual person, his response will be,
कर्म yoga.
his response
To
will
reach the self.
to
Why am I
reach
doing
the
to
self.
reach?
To reach the self. Then he's a spiritual person. Suppose he's going to the temple and I ask him, why are you going to the temple? And he says, because I'm hoping I get a good wife. Then, is he a spiritual person? Then he is a person in search of a good wife. Okay? So it doesn't matter what you do. The point is, why are you doing it? That is what makes you spiritual. Suppose I tell you, here's a person who teaches the Bhagavad Gita. 40 years, she or he has taught the Bhagavad Gita. Is this a spiritual person?
Intention matters.
We don't know because we don't know why that person did it. Yes, Nilofer?
Janki, when you say animals and plant reduce desires, you're referring to times of scarcity where they adapt and evolve. Is that what you were referring to?
No. The animals and plants, I mean, every creature other than humans come only with access to their prarabdha vasanas. Remember? So when their when they live, as they live, their prarabdha vasanas get exhausted. So that amount of desires are gone for them.
Wouldn't the same apply to us?
Yes, it does. I mean, our prarabdha vasanas will also be removed, but unfortunately, we have access to our sanchita vasanas, our total vasanas. So we are increasing, decreasing those.
Okay, thank you, Janki.
What separates us from God is desire. Systematic reduction of desires is the path to godhood. Desires have been symbolized in every religion as the barrier between man and God. Devil in Christianity, Shaitan in Islam, Mara in Buddhism, and Asura in Hinduism. I hope you realize that in all these stories, you will find that there is some devil or Shaitan or Mara or somebody is trying to make somebody do something wrong. Right? What does the devil do? It tempts you. So who is this who's tempting you? It's your own desire. Then they will say no. How will you know a devil? Elsie, you know how to know that it's a devil? If the devil speaks to you, how will you know it's a devil?
If the desires tempt you.
No, not like that. Real devil. What is the story of?
Okay, that fallen angels.
Okay, not only that. How do you know? Suppose you want to know that this person is saying something to you and whether it's the devil or not. How will you know? Assuming there's an external devil and he's speaking to you, how will you know he's a devil? Don't know. Because if the devil comes to you, Elsie, please learn. If the devil comes and speaks to you, you will know him. There are two ways, apparently, of knowing him. One is that his feet don't touch the ground. You've never heard of that? No. And the second one is that he's got hoofed feet. He doesn't have feet like us. He's got hoofed feet. Why am I teaching you Christianity, Elsie?
I have never heard of it.
Never heard of it?
Yes.
Okay, you all can do a Google search and see how do you recognize the devil is speaking to you. At least that's what we were told. So I don't know. You can look it up. It's a belief. He got hoof feet and his feet don't touch the ground. Okay. Now, if you think about what they're telling you, your feet don't touch the ground, but you're walking. What is it trying to say? It's trying to tell you that obviously it's not a living creature, right? That's not what any living creature does. And what when you say he's got hoofed feet, who has hoofed feet?
Horse.
Animals.
Yeah.
The animalistic tendency in you. When you start understanding what they're trying to describe in these beautiful ways, every religion has this absolutely amazing ways of trying to explain. Like there is a devil. Sometimes he's shown sitting on your shoulder, with that what's the pitchfork he has and a tail he has. And so you notice all the symbolism tells you about your desires, what kind of desires they have. They've got a pitchfork, they're going to hurt you. They've got a tail, they're an animalistic version of you. It's also shown in colors representing desire, red or black, tamas or rajas. So if you watch carefully what they're telling you the same knowledge of Vedanta. Everywhere across the board you'll find it. But we must develop the eyes to see. Aditi, will self-development be called being spiritual or just the goal of reaching the self? It all depends on how the person is defining self-development. Some people define self-development as I'm slimmer, I'm prettier, I speak better English. What is your definition of it? If you think of self-development as a stepping stone to self-realization, then yes. If you think of self-development as and I know through so many years of this, one man, after attending class for so many years, he thought self-development is making his body, mind, and intellect better. And he didn't even realize that and then he said, no, but each one has our own Atman. Yeah, but it's the same one. No. I have to make my Atman good. What? So people don't seem to get it. So it's a bit tough. So what is self-development? If it is self-purification as a stepping stone to self-realization, then yes, then it will become a spiritual. If it is, what most people nowadays say, oh, I'm going to develop myself, I'm going to read 6 more books this year, I'm going to learn one new subject this year. And good things to do, no doubt. But for what? Why do you want to learn AI? Why do you want to read 6 books? For what are you doing all this? If your answer is that I want to realize the self or I want to purify myself, then yes, studying AI, everything will become spiritual.
So, Janki ji, if you are not aiming at self and you are just trying for self purification, that is not spiritual.
Meaning you don't want self.
Because you are not
Are
thinking
you saying you
of
don't want
realizing
realization?
the
You
self.
only. But if you
Yes.
go on self-development, but if you go on purifying the self, you will realize the self. No, so how can you say don't want complete purification?
Don't want,
What
no,
does
but
that
that is not in our mind or something like that for the time being.
So for the time being is different, no? So suppose you say,
Yeah,
okay,
I know.
the moment I am doing KG, but eventually I'm going to reach PhD, then that means your goal is PhD. Otherwise, how will you define? You say, okay, I want self-development, but I'm not thinking of self-realization. So when am I stopping self-development? At what stage? Am I
So
going to
your
keep
aim
on
must
doing it?
be, you think that by self-purification you are at peace. If you are aiming only at that, that is not a spiritual goal.
Because here the goal, you've suddenly made peace.
Okay.
Suppose you need to do something that's going to agitate you, but you don't do it because it's going to agitate you. Then you're off the path.
Thank you.
Deep Raj, what if the answer is getting out of this madhouse? Is that the same as self-realization? Yes, it's the same. If a person has this intention, maybe he will quit after building a significant amount of sattva. You don't have to quit after building a significant amount of sattva. When you have built a significant amount of sattva, it's so pure that it opens up. Now there's a veil, right? You made that veil subtler. So when you make it so subtle, it'll simply open up. You don't have to quit it. It'll open up. Okay, so then that's it for today. Hari Om.
Hariam Janki ji,
Hariam.
thank you.
Janki ji, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Janki ji.